Today, some of the best performing stocks in the S&P 500 on the stock market here in the US were airlines because it's earnings season and they started disclosing earnings for the first quarter of the year 2022. And the reason why they are flying these high, no pun intended, because we're talking about airline stocks, it's because bookings are getting back to high volume, especially as we are getting into summer season. Because it's summer and people want to get back to what life used to be before the pandemic. Now that we have restrictions kind of behind us, mostly in most states here in the US, it kind of makes sense for people to start going back out. Start going out to see, there are people that didn't really had a chance to travel in the last 2 years or 2.5 years. So now business is booming again for airline stock. And that is why I want to share with you some of the opportunities you can take into this space, into this sector, because these are among some of the cheapest stocks in the market currently. And this is about to change because what the market was expecting with airlines, it's now shifting. All right. So check this out. Delta Airlines, they gained 6% today. If you look at United Airlines, they gained 5.6%. If you look at Southwest, 7.5%. And then American Airlines was really driving the major because they were the one disclosing reports around earnings. So if you dig into the earnings of American Airlines, for example, you can see that, what is really behind this is a positive on what proved to be an all-around positive trading session for the stock market, but also because American Airlines Group is about to disclose earnings. And from what we will hear from Delta Airlines today, actually, or let's say tomorrow morning, booking sessions are coming back because the high demand, you can hear from American Airlines that there is high demand coming, but also the price of tickets is now a little more expensive than it used to be just 1 year ago. Mostly because all jet fuel is also highly expensive. So if bookings are coming back, if tickets are a lot more expensive and people are willing to pay that price to travel, it means that revenues are going to be very strong for airlines. But if you look at these stocks from a technical standpoint, all right, let's look at the chart from these last 5 years. All right, so American Airlines, and this is Southwest Airlines really went back down to $23 and at some point regained. But when Delta hit, when coronavirus second, phases or third waves or whatever you want to call them happen, and then China lockdowns happened then, and then people were not really sure if they were going back to office because business travel is really a key component into the revenues for all these airlines. All right, so the stock plummets. So now we're looking at a 27% potential upside just to go back to where the stock was trading before, this whole second wave, third wave of pandemic started. And you can see that it's pretty much the exact same thing with all of these airlines. This is the case with United. United is even worse because United is really one of the placed, when it comes to international travel. All right, same thing with Delta Airlines. And if you look at Delta Airlines stock, let me go back to it here. You can see that it's pretty much the exact same thing by looking at the chart. Let's go on the 5-year. It hasn't really reached the level it was prior to the pandemic. All right, part of it is business travel, but business travel also is included into international travel. If you take a multinational, a company that has offices in India and in China and in London and in Singapore and in the US, and in potentially South Africa. If they want to do annual meetings, if the top executive managers have to travel back and forth, this is international. All right. So this gives me another confirmation that maybe now might be the time to add a little bit if you are not yet invested into airlines. Personally, I am. All right. And I was still bullish on airlines, especially after the Russia thing started, because it caused another major breakdown into the price. But now that we have the earnings, it means the business is going back to a certain level of normalcy. And that is definitely going to improve the share price action here in this stock. So my recommendation going to this is look first for the traditional or the domestic airlines. This will be your Southwest, your Spirit, and your American Airlines. Now, if you want to gain a lot more, United and Delta are really the one having a lot more upside to go just because of this international presence they have, which hasn't really picked up a lot because of COVID restrictions, but also, the Russia and Ukraine conflict. But all that is potentially going to cool down. And as the business is coming back up, including air travel for companies, well, we can expect this to pick up a little bit, at least going back to these levels, which we're looking at a very decent amount of gains. We're talking about 48% for United, for example, and for Delta, we're talking about what here? We're talking about 34% on the upside. So remember, nothing is guaranteed in the market, but as long as you're willing to take the risk and be prepared for the shenanigans, then you can be almost guaranteed to make a decent amount of money. So let's just see how it goes, and I will see you in the next video, folks.